Pregame.com.
Welcome back to Pregame.tv. I'm your host, Marco.D'Angelo, joined in studio, my partner in crime, Ken Thomson. You know him, SportsX Radio here in Las Vegas, 5 nights a week. Ken, great show.
Hey, great suit. I didn't see the jacket before. I saw the burnt orange Texas, but you're covering up the burnt orange a little bit. Huh? You don't want to be on the hot seat.
All right,
with Mac
there
Brown.
you go. Guys, busting my stones because later we'll be doing a video and he'll be bragging, with his play that beat me on last week.
No, on the videos, you're like, what, 11-2-2 or whatever?
11-3-2.
11-3-2. That's pretty darn good, man.
So I'm happy with that. Let's see if we can keep that going. But this video is actually going to be yours. We're taking a look at BYU at Utah State Friday night. This is actually a good Friday night game. We've had some snooze fest and some big spreads, but this is going to be a great game. You've got Utah State. This team, they can play defense. And I'll tell you, since the first game of the season when they had the rivalry game with Utah, they gave up 30 points. This team has not allowed more than 20 points in any game. They've given up 26, 17, and 12. That's some pretty impressive numbers. And then on the flip side, BYU's got a stout defense of their own. What are you looking at in this one?
I am looking at good, solid defense, but I'm also looking at the venue, home crowd. This is a huge game for Utah State. I mean, bigger than it is for BYU. Why? Because Utah State lost to BYU 6-3 last year, 27-24 the year before. Should have won both those games, had a better team offensively last year with Kerwin Williams in the backfield. This year, not as explosive offensively, but like you said, pretty stout defensively, and the game's in Logan. This means a lot, and I will say this, that Coach Anderson, yeah, he bailed for Wisconsin, but he left the cupboard still somewhat full.
Yeah, absolutely. Then it's Utah State. Now, when you say that it means more for Utah State, no question, because there's a three-way rivalry in the state of Utah. There's BYU, who's been top dog forever, then Utah, and then Utah State. BYU, they don't want to lose to either of those two rivals, but their main rival always is the Utah game, and then Utah State. This is like the little brother trying to battle the big brothers, every time they face them. So I always love the, I don't want to call them the underdog because they're the favorite here, but they're the smaller team of the three schools. But the last 2 years, this team's played, I think, the best ball of the three teams.
I agree with you. And as you look at it in the little round robin, when you looked at it on paper coming into the year, you looked at BYU, a team that you knew could take care of business. And if they beat Texas, you figured they'd probably be unbeaten at this time. You looked at Utah State and said, you know what? If they take care of business against USC, they'd probably be unbeaten at this time. Lo and behold, Whittingham's boys, Utah, upended both BYU and Utah State. And in the game against Utah State, they came back from double digits in the fourth quarter, surprised them with the onside kick, and boy, that was a game that Utah State would love to have back. And then the game against USC, I mean, Utah State just couldn't get that one drive to put the game to where they had the lead against Southern Cal, because like you said, their defense was stout, 17-14, a tough loss.
Absolutely, and with both teams having good defenses, it's going to be which offense can generate enough. And I think that when it comes to the quarterback position, Utah State, definitely has huge advantage with Chucky Keaton. But you know what? This is your free pick. Let's make it official.
Let's do it. It's a good point, Marco. Chucky Keaton is a dual threat. That's the problem with Taysom Hill for BYU. He's not a dual threat. He can run the ball. We know how good he is at running the ball, but he's just over 40% as far as throwing the ball. So that is a liability in itself for that BYU offense. They struggle to score points. They did it in the opener, which, had the long rain delay over there in Charlottesville against Virginia, but they also did it against Utah, and you can't do that. And this is a road game. This is a very tough venue. This place is going to be jumping. I talked with Al Lewis today, the voice of the Utah State Aggies, found out that running back Joe Hill, their second leading rusher, more than likely will not go. But he said, Ken, not to worry, because DiMartino's been the man. He's better than 7 yards a carry, has 4 touchdowns, and Robert Marshall will step in as that second running back when need be. But it is all about the quarterback, Chucky Keaton. He is that dual threat. He's right now 17 touchdowns, just 1 interception, completing 71% of his passes, over 1,360 yards. Also on the ground, 224 134 more yards rushing the ball and 2 more touchdowns. You've got a solid receiving core led by the 2 Travis boys. Reynolds and Van Leeuwen both have 23 catches on the year, 593 yards, 4 touchdowns between them. You've got Natson, Swindle, 2 more good solid receivers. So this team definitely will look at the wideouts, but you've also got Tiavalia. This is the tight end that seems to be open when all the wideouts are taken up. And again, Utah State will spread the field, same way they did with Anderson, because Matt Wells, he was the offensive coordinator for Anderson. He stuck around, took the job. It's his alma mater. He played quarterback for Utah State in the early 90s. So I'm looking for Utah State to take care of business. They are 3-2. They could easily be 5-0. Again, let the Utah game slip away in the opener, and the USC game 17-14 at the Coliseum was right there for the taking. On the defensive side of things for the Aggies, 2 stout linebackers, Dowdy and Vigil, both outstanding. Lawson, one of the better cornerbacks in the Mountain West Conference. And, of course, Jordan Nielsen, he is a top-tier defensive end already with 3 sacks on the young season. For BYU, they're 2-2. Like I said, if Taysom Hill could throw the football, this team would be 4-0. They demolished Texas. A lot of people figured, hey, this team demolishes Texas, they're going to be able to beat everybody, and then they struggle in their other 2 games. So Utah got them in Provo, and that never sits well with the faithful up there in Provo. They don't like to lose the old holy war, as they call it. Jamal Williams is back, the youngster out of Fontana. He had suffered an injury, but he will play this game. Also Lasicki and Elisa. So good, solid backfield to go along with Taysom Hill. So a nice running attack. Again, it's throwing the football. Now, their leading receiver, Cody Hoffman, who missed a game early, also was suspended last week. Just a 1-game suspension. Don't know what code violation that was, but a 1-game suspension. He will be back. Spencer Hadley still sitting out. It's his 3rd game of a 5-game suspension. He did a major code violation up there. The Mormons take their sport seriously, but they take their code a little bit more seriously, and they won't go back on any of those suspensions. So Mendenhall's boys will be a little bit shorthanded. But again, watch for the ruckus atmosphere. This is a huge game. It is sold out, as is the game next week against Boise State. Utah State really has a chance to get the fans behind them again. They could go to 5-2 with home wins over BYU and Boise State in succession. It's going to be my play, pregame.tv. Take Utah State. Lay the 6. You can find 6s around town. There's some 6.5s, but lay the 6. I feel you have no problem. You're going to get a double-digit win from the Aggies.
All right, great stuff, Ken. We're going to come right back here at pregame.tv. Next up, we're going to go to the SEC. Georgia, Tennessee. I don't know if it'll be a shootout like it was last week. That was a great game with Georgia and LSU, one of the best games of the season so far. But we'll see what Georgia's got on tap for Tennessee. That's up next, pregame.tv.